Hadith number 91, narrated by Anas. The Prophet said, Medina is a sanctuary from that place to that. Its trees should not be cut and no heresy should be innovated nor any sin should be committed in it, and whoever innovates in it in heresy or commits sins, bad deeds, then he will incur the curse of Allah, the angels, and all the people. Hadith number 92, narrated by Anas. The Prophet came to Medina and ordered a mosque to be built and said, O Bani Najjar, suggest to me the price of your land. They said, we do not want its price except from Allah, i.e. they wished for a reward from Allah for giving up their land freely. So, the Prophet ordered the graves of the pagans to be dug out and the land to be leveled, and the date palm trees to be cut down. The cut date palms were fixed in the direction of the Qibla of the mosque. Hadith number 93, narrated by Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, I have made Medina a sanctuary between its two, Herat, mountains. The Prophet went to the tribe of Bani Harida and said, to them, I see that you have gone out of the sanctuary, but looking around, he added, no, you are inside the sanctuary. Hadith number 94, narrated by Ali. We have nothing except the Book of Allah and this written paper from the Prophet, wherein is written, Medina is a sanctuary from the air mountain to such and such a place, and whoever innovates in it in heresy or commits a sin, or gives shelter to such an innovator in it will incur the curse of Allah, the angels, and all the people. None of his compulsory or optional good deeds of worship will be accepted. And the asylum of protection granted by any Muslim is to be secured, respected, by all the other Muslims, and whoever betrays a Muslim in this respect incurs the curse of Allah, the angels, and all the people, and none of his compulsory or optional good deeds of worship will be accepted, and whoever, freed slave, befriends, take as masters, other than his manumitters without their permission incurs the curse of Allah, the angels, and all the people, and none of his compulsory or optional good deeds of worship will be accepted. Hadith number 95, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's Apostle said, I was ordered to migrate to a town which will swallow, conquer, other towns and is called Yathrib and that is Medina, and it turns out, bad, persons as a furnace removes the impurities of iron. Hadith number 96, narrated by Abu Humayd. We came with the Prophet from Tabuk, and when we reached near Medina, the Prophet said, this is Taba. Hadith number 97, narrated by Abu Huraira. If I saw deers grazing in Medina, I would not chase them, for Allah's Apostle said, Medina is a sanctuary between its two mountains. Hadith number 98, narrated by Abu Huraira. I heard Allah's Apostle saying, the people will leave Medina in spite of the best state it will have, and none except the wild birds and the beasts of prey will live in it, and the last persons who will die will be two shepherds from the tribe of Medinah, who will be driving their sheep towards Medina, but will find nobody in it, and when they reach the valley of Thaniyat al-Wada, they will fall down on their faces dead. Hadith number 99, narrated by Abu Zuhair. I heard Allah's Apostle saying, Yemen will be conquered and some people will migrate from Medina, and will urge their families, and those who will obey them to migrate to Yemen, although Medina will be better for them, if they but knew. Sham will also be conquered and some people will migrate from Medina, and will urge their families and those who will obey them to migrate to Sham, although Medina will be better for them, if they but knew. Iraq will be conquered and some people will migrate from Medina, and will urge their families and those who will obey them to migrate to Iraq, although Medina will be better for them, if they but knew. Hadith number 100, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's Apostle said, verily, belief returns and goes back to Medina as a snake returns and goes back to its hole when in danger. Hadith number 101, narrated by Sa'd. I heard the Prophet saying, none plots against the people of Medina but that he will be dissolved, destroyed, like the salt is dissolved in water. Hadith number 102, narrated by Usama. Once the Prophet stood at the top of looked out from upon one castle amongst the castles, or the high buildings, of Medina and said, do you see what I see? No doubt, I see the spots where afflictions will take place among your houses, and these afflictions will be as numerous as the spots where raindrops fall. Hadith number 103, narrated by Abu Bakr. The Prophet said, the terror caused by Al-Masih ad-Dajjal will not enter Medina, and at that time Medina will have 7 gates and there will be 2 angels at each gate guarding them. Hadith number 104, narrated by Abu Huraira. Allah's Apostle said, there are angels guarding the entrances, or roads, of Medina, neither plague nor ad-Dajjal will be able to enter it. Hadith number 105, narrated by Anas bin Malik. The Prophet said, there will be no town which ad-Dajjal will not enter except Mecca and Medina, and there will be no entrance, road, of both Mecca and Medina, but the angels will be standing in rows guarding it against him, and then Medina will shake with its inhabitants thrice, i.e., 3 earthquakes will take place, and Allah will expel all the non-believers and the hypocrites from it. Hadith number 106, narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Allah's Apostle told us a long narrative about Ad-Dajjal, and among the many things he mentioned, was his saying, Ad-Dajjal will come and it will be forbidden for him to pass through the entrances of Medina. He will land in some of the salty barren areas, outside Medina. On that day the best men or one of the best men will come up to him and say, I testify that you are the same Dajjal whose description was given to us by Allah's Apostle. Ad-Dajjal will say to the people, if I kill this man and bring him back to life again, will you doubt my claim? They will say, no, then Ad-Dajjal will kill that man and bring him back to life. That man will say, now I know your reality better than before. Ad-Dajjal will say, I want to kill him but I cannot. Hadith number 107, narrated by Jabir. A Bedouin came to the Prophet and gave a pledge of allegiance for embracing Islam. The next day he came with fever and said, to the Prophet, please cancel my pledge of embracing Islam and of emigrating to Medina. The Prophet refused that request 3 times and said, Medina is like a furnace, it expels out the impurities, bad persons, and selects the good ones and makes them perfect. Hadith number 108, narrated by Zayd bin Thabit. When the Prophet went out for the battle of Uhud, some of his companions, hypocrites, returned home. A party of the believers remarked that they would kill those hypocrites who had returned, but another party said that they would not kill them. So, this divine inspiration was revealed. Then what is the matter with you that you are divided into 2 parties concerning the hypocrites? The Prophet said, Medina expels the bad persons from it, as fire expels the impurities of iron. Hadith number 109, narrated by Anas. The Prophet said, O Allah, bestow on Medina twice the blessings you bestowed on Mecca. Hadith number 110, narrated by Anas. Whenever the Prophet returned from a journey and observed the walls of Medina, he would make his mount go fast, and if he was on an animal, i.e. a horse, he would make it gallop because of his love for Medina. Hadith number 111, narrated by Anas. The people of Bani Salama intended to shift near the mosque of the Prophet, but Allah's Apostle disliked to see Medina vacated and said, O the people of Bani Salama, don't you think that you will be rewarded for your footsteps which you take towards the mosque? So, they stayed at their old places. Hadith number 112, narrated by Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, there is a garden from the gardens of paradise between my house and my pulpit is on my lake fount, Al-Kawthar. Hadith number 113, narrated by Aisha. When Allah's Apostle reached Medina, Abu Bakr and Bilal became ill. When Abu Bakr's fever got worse, he would recite this poetic verse, everybody is staying alive with his people, yet death is nearer to him than his shoelaces. And Bilal, when his fever deserted him, would recite, would that I could stay overnight in a valley wherein I would be surrounded by Idkir and Jalil, kinds of good-smelling grass. Would that one day I could drink the water of the Majana, and would that the 2 mountains, Shama and Tafel, would appear to me. The Prophet said, O Allah, curse Shaiba bin Rabi'ah and Utbah bin Rabi'ah and Umayyah bin Khalaf as they turned us out of our land to the land of epidemics. Allah's Apostle then said, O Allah, make us love Medina as we love Mecca or even more than that. O Allah, give blessings in our sa and our mud, measures symbolizing food, and make the climate of Medina suitable for us, and divert its fever towards Al-Jufa. Aisha added, when we reached Medina, it was the most unhealthy of Allah's lands, and the valley of Bathan, the valley of Medina, used to flow with impure colored water. Hadith number 114, narrated by Zayd bin Aslam from his father. Umar said, O Allah, grant me martyrdom in your cause, and let my death be in the city of your apostle.